Kenzy Soror is a student trustee with the Waterloo Region District School Board. And as we are about to enter the last month of school tomorrow with exams just around the corner, we thought it was a good time to check in with Kenzy about school, her role as a trustee, and what her plans are after graduation. Welcome back to the show, Kenzy.
Thank you for having me, Craig.
So I want to start with an award you received recently because you and your fellow student trustee, Vaishnava Raina, came up with a new student trustee election process. Tell us, why did you want to do that?
So, since I applied to be a senator in grade 10, actually, it didn't take me long to see that there was a representation problem with student advocacy in our school board. And I was actually struggling to see people like me in student senate and in the position of the student trustee. So when I asked around, I found that the majority of students were completely unaware of the difference between a student senator and a student trustee, of who their student trustees even were, what the board does, and viewing advocacy as something boring or a waste of time. And this ultimately created the issue that these student senators were a closed and isolated group that made it difficult for many of them to effectively advocate for the student body. So after last year reforming Student Senate into Student Roundtable, it seemed like the next logical step was to actually reform the student trustee election process itself. And this process started midway through my first term last year. And I recall, Greg, that no one on the committee for the revisions was seeing fully eye to eye with me on the need to completely overhaul this process. Yeah, but nonetheless, I managed to get a few concerns addressed in the minor revisions that took place last year. And now we can fast forward to this second term, and student trustee Vaishnavi, our student trustee mentors, and the staff on the committee are all on board with a complete board-wide election where every WRDSB secondary student gets to cast a vote, which was my ultimate goal that started last year.
Yeah. Wow. Congratulations, too, on winning the Ontario Public School Trustee Leadership Scholarship.
Thank you so much.
As you mentioned, I mean, it was your second term, right, as a student trustee. What do you think defined your second year in that role?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I would say that building on what was completed in my first term last year and completing what wasn't is what really defines the second year. For example, last year, we managed to reshape student representation on the student senate scale with the introduction of student roundtables. And so this year, Vaishnavi and I ran more of these student roundtables. As I mentioned, the student trustee elections were successfully reformed, and my online board meeting recaps and now videos, they continued to garnish more traction among students. And so overall, I'm just very honored that the student body entrusted me with this position for a second year, where I got the chance to see to fruition many of the seeds that I planted last year to make student advocacy more accessible to all students. Now,
there have been some really divisive issues coming before the board in recent months. We follow each other on Twitter. I see what you do on social media. And you've been attacked for some of your views on social media. How have you handled that? I mean, I can say by experience, I've seen you handle it very well, but tell people how you handle that stuff.
Yeah, you know what, Craig? I always say that words have power, but I think it's important to recognize that this power comes from how we perceive who is saying those words. Right. And yeah, since day one of taking this public position, when I started to share my opinions, my feed has been completely filled with buzzwords like indoctrination, politicization, child abuse, and brainwashing, and the list truly goes on. Truthfully, most of the time I just ignore them as an inevitable side effect of not locking my account and not keeping myself in an echo chamber of only the opinions that I agree with. After all, many of these posters are hiding behind the internet's anonymous veils, and their posts are judgmental in nature rather than factual or personal. But with that said, there are some posts that carry the power to do harm because of the perceived credibility, I feel, of either those who post them or those who publicly associate themselves with the posters. And so in these cases, I simply call out those holding that power to know better than amplifying these damaging messages, and then I move on.
What message do you have for adults out there, Kenzy, who might dismiss your stances or your opinion on the board?
Well, honestly, I do find it hard to even fathom people claiming to have the best interest of the student body in mind, discounting the opinions of an elected representative of that very same student body. And I can guarantee you, Craig, that being in school, I have interacted with more students in the past week than most non-educator adults have done in the past year. So I would say that I understand that many might be threatened by what they don't know, which is why I encourage everyone to get to know me, student trustee Vaishnavi, the incoming student trustee-elects Casper and Abdullah, and the student body in general before passing judgment on us, because it's simply unfair and ultimately we aren't going anywhere. Our future is ours, so we do deserve a say in how it's shaped.
Those are great parting words for your fellow students, too. But I want to ask you, though, personally, on a personal level, what's next for you? What's your plan after graduation?
Right. It's actually funny that you ask that, Craig, because the future has been a little opaque for me this past while. The thing is, as I was applying for university, I made the decision to only apply to the top tier programs for the fields that I'm passionate about. And looking back at it, this might not have been the wisest choice because this caused so much stress that I needed to refrain from even checking on the status of my applications until I finished all of my IB exams. But then I found that I was lucky enough to have been accepted into every program that I applied to.
I was hoping there was a but. Okay.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm very excited to actually join the computer science and business double degree through the University of Waterloo in conjunction with Laurier. And really, this just serves as a testament to students that even if you're hearing about how tough it is to get into a specific program, if you're passionate about it, then certainly give it a shot. But learn from my mistakes and make sure to have a backup plan also.
Well, it turns out it wasn't a mistake. Kenzy, I've always, over the last couple of years, I've always loved chatting with you, and I hope only the best things for you as you move forward.
Thank you much. Thank you so much, Craig, and thank you to your CBC team. I have completely appreciated you always giving us a venue to amplify the student body's voices, and it's been wonderful chatting with you as well.
That's one of the things we're here for, Kenzy. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. You as well.
That's Kenzy Soror. She's a student trustee with the Waterloo Region District School Board. She's wrapping up her second year in that role.